Hello, everybody. Welcome to Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs. I do apologize for the countdown. The neighbor's yard guy is blowing leaves in the driveway, and the microphone picks it up. You know the drill. You hear me? Thumbs up. Let me know. Let's roll the open. Great show coming to you on Rain Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Yes, you're watching me dance, sort of oddly here in the studio. Glad you're along. Happy Thursday. We go week to week now, which means we're a month out, or basically a month out from opening day at Legends Field. My name is Dan Vaughn. Let me adjust the camera there just a little bit. We had this problem last week, and I got to kind of slide over. I got to remember that, but we got some of the graphics and stuff. We'll get to that in a moment. But Rain Reborn is the show. And I'm the voice of the Kansas City Monarchs. I'm Dan Vaughn. Glad you're along. Got a good one coming up in about 5 minutes or so. I've got Jameson McGrain standing by, I believe he'll be joining us here in a few minutes. So looking forward to having JMO join us. I'm going to give you some news and notes from the week that was. And boy, it was a busy week. I'm going to give you a little preview of something I'm doing tomorrow and preview the podcast as well, because the podcast is going to have a lot more of the extra content. I've kind of moved more of that there and keep this thing more compact. So roll right along. Lunch hour. Hope you got your coffee or whatever, your lunch or whatever it is you got going on. And Rain Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs. It's time for 2 good minutes. Let's bring this down with DV. And I'll roll the start here. It's how we open things up. It's kind of my opening monologue. I channel my David Letterman, if you will. And by the way, I hope you guys are hearing me, because I didn't get a thumbs up. Anybody? Thumbs up from someone hearing me out there? Anybody out there? A thumbs up. Let's try it this way. How about thumbs up now? You hear me now? Let's make sure you hear me, because I'll start the thumbs up. Cool. Everybody's hearing me. So we're all good. We better hurry up here. I got 24 seconds rolling along. Monday, it was opening day in Texas. A lot of you folks last week in Kansas City braved the cold and chill at the K. And I began to think, shocking that I thought about this, but what makes baseball opening day so important? What's the big deal? I mean, no other sport celebrates opening day like we do, right? The NFL does a whole week-long deal, but one specific day. The one specific day. If you're a hunter, there's the opening of the hunting season. I guess that's comparable. But really, the NBA, they do an opening weekend, but everybody does an opening week. But baseball does an opening day. And it's the only sport, too, where you have opening day, even if you play on the road, like what the Rangers did in Toronto. They played again at home on Monday. The Royals played opening day there in Kansas City, then played opening day on the road later in the week. So you can have multiple opening days. It's a big deal. Cincinnati has parades for it. That's a big deal. Back in the day, the Monarchs used to roll through town and have parades as well for opening day. So what makes opening day so special? And I think that's a debate we could go on and on about. But what I do know is everybody gets opening day fever, right? We all get it. We go to the big league game, we're all fired up. With the Royals, Rangers, whoever, we're fired up, right? Monarchs are coming, we're fired up, We could bottle that fever, that opening day fever, and have it every day, all year long. Major League Baseball would cure all their ills, because everybody catches an opening day fever, right? But eventually by July, it's kind of the dog days and all that, and we're back to where we were square one. And I don't know, but I'm a guy that's thinking that maybe the opening day spirit, that fever, is what's going to make us kind of rebound the big league ball game. The American Association is alive and well. The minor league game's alive and well. The Monarchs are alive and well. But what's going to reignite Major League Baseball passion again, like it was in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and so on? What's going to unite that passion again? And I think that's what makes baseball so special, is we need to bottle that up, take that fever, share it over and over again for baseball at the big league level, because it's got its issues. If we bottled it up, had all that passion, and shared that magic and that Monarchs passion with the big league folks, I mean, what an incredible game it would be all around. And that's my 2 good minutes with DV here on Reign Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs. Glad you're along here on the show. Questions and comments, too. I'll be more than happy to take those. We're a little early for once. How about that? About 3 minutes early. Woo! How about that? I had a chance to go up to Kansas City last week. I'll throw this out there. I met with, by now, I've met with my entire media relations team. I'm fired up. We've got some great things coming your way. We've got a great summer staff coming your way as well in all of our departments. We had our orientation last Saturday. Frank White came out and spoke. Mr. Brandmeier, Mr. McKee, Mr. Hendricks. Everybody spoke and got a chance to meet all the new talent. And boy, there's some really good young whippersnappers coming through the ranks there at Legends Field to help the Monarchs and continue what we've been doing now and going to year 2 of the Monarchs Reign Reborn. It's very exciting. All the departments were there, tickets, promotions, grounds, media, as I mentioned, all that. And to meet those folks, yep, I'm ready to go too. Let's go. Let's go. Let's put that up there. Let's go. I'm all fired up too. Let's go. Let's go. By the way, do you guys know this? A little quickly, shameless plug. This is the show that started it all. Every team now does this. I've heard 2 different shows this week say, oh, that's the show that started it all. So tip the cap to us, the Monarchs. Hey, imitation's the best form of flattery. I don't like to usually tip the cap to myself and to us. Well, not so much myself. I tip the cap to the Monarchs. But hey, you know what? I'll break my hand, pat myself on the back. Okay, Jameson McGray will be joining us in a few minutes. Other notes as well. Hot stove coming up. Again, the Monarchs 101 is going to be very short today. I'm going to move most of that conversation to the podcast. That'll drop tonight, later on this afternoon, this evening, but you'll be able to catch it tomorrow morning. It'll be this show in the podcast form, plus 2 bonus pieces of content. Monarchs 101 with DB, the master's class. And number 2 will be the flashback moment. And then we'll also replay the interview in the hot stove as well. That'll be wherever you get your podcast as well out there. So questions, comments, we're waiting for Jameson here. I mentioned last week, and I don't have a photo here, but you can go to the website or social media. Morgan's got some great photos up. I'm going to bring this down. I don't know why that graphic has done that for 2 weeks in a row here. Let's just change it up here with, let's try this one. Or not. Let's try this one. Let's try this one. There we go. Look at that one, just for a change of pace. All right, I haven't used that one in a while. I kind of like that KC. But go to the Facebook page, Twitter, any of our channels. Some great shots of the ballpark. The field looks amazing. I mean, I got to tell you, it looks so green. I had to kind of scratch my eyes and make sure that that wasn't fake grass. Wow. And the ballpark looks great. And you can kind of see when I was there last Saturday, and if you've been out there doing the events we've got going on this weekend, we'll talk about that in a moment. You're starting to see things take shape. You're starting to see the chairs are coming out, the high tops, the field. They're working on the different construction projects. All that's going on. It's getting close. It's getting close. Savannah Bananas in the 6th and 7th of May, and then rolling into the Monarchs season next Friday. And by the way, that Savannah Bananas, mentioned that opening day situation for me in Texas this week. Had a gentleman sitting next to me that knew all about the Bananas and was like, man, I got to go see them play sometime. I said, well, You don't have to go to Savannah. You can go up to Kansas City, and there are a few ways to still get in. He's like, really? So monarchsbaseball.com, I told him, and handed me my business card. So there you go. So somebody maybe get a call from a guy from Bedford in Texas and all that. Waiting with Jameson McGrain to be joining us here in just a moment. I'll go ahead and go to the hot stove and wait for Jameson as we come along here. I'm a little early here, but I started the countdown a little early as well. I'm really excited about a couple of things on the hot stove. Of course, remember I mentioned 2 weeks ago, I said, this 88 home runs that are out there, there are going to be more pieces of the puzzle. And Joe even mentioned to us last week, more pieces to the puzzle being added left and right. This is a piece of the puzzle was added, and I got to tell you, I'm pretty fired up about it. Pete Kozma is joining the ball club. Pete lives down in Tulsa. He is a former big leaguer, World Series champion with the Cardinals. If you're a Cardinal fan, you know his name in the history of the Cardinals, and most recently as he had the big hit in Game 5 against the Nationals in 2000. Was that 13? Is that right? I'm going to share the video in a moment. What are my early predictions or expectations for the season? I expect that the Monarchs will be right in the mix again. I don't think there's any reason to doubt that. I'm not going to sit there and tell you that this team wins it all, but it wouldn't shock me to go back-to-back. The last team to go back-to-back in the association was Winnipeg. What was that, 14-15? 15-16. I believe it was 15-16 they went back-to-back. Is that correct? No. Yeah. I think that's right. It's hard to go back-to-back. It's hard to do it again, but if you're going to do it again, this is a guy right here, Pete Kozma, that can help you with it. You throw Pete in that lineup card, you got Kozma, Gillespie, Thompson, Guerrero, Hernandez, Isabel. Who am I missing? I mean, you've got some pieces there. And as anything, this league, you can slam your way to a playoff spot, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to pitching and how that pitching holds up. And I think the key is going to be, once again, as Monarchs pitchers are plucked from the line, and they're going to be plucked. Guys are going to get signed off this card, off the roster, to affiliated baseball. It's going to happen. It happened last year. It's going to happen. We know that. That being said, you're going to, let me see one thing here. Oh, sorry about that. Somebody messaged me there, and I'll make sure it wasn't Jameson. But you can slam your way to a playoff spot. I think when it comes down to it, nuts and bolts, what's been the key, Stu? What's been the key for the Monarchs in their championship runs? Take the 18 T-Bone season and the 20 Monarch season. Both teams had very similar offenses. I would argue probably the 20 season's offense was much better, but both teams had reliable starting pitching that got you and set the tone, and it was very deep. And you had a lot of depth there. And the challenge is going to be for Joe Cathpietra, and it's been the challenge for Joe. We've talked about it with Joe a lot, is how the team fills those gaps in. When he has a player signed, how he gets the next guy up. Luckily for the Monarchs last year, a lot of the position players, except for Jan Hernandez, Jan was the only position player that was plucked off the roster. It was all pitchers. Now, I imagine this year, I just have a funny feeling that a guy like Pete Kozma, a guy like that will be out there for the pickings. And by the way, Jameson is, I believe, joining us right now. I'm going to get everything queued. I just saw him stop by a moment ago. Let's bring this down. But wait, Pete Kozma, I'll talk more about him in a moment after Jameson is interviewed. But he is going to, there we go. He's coming in right now. He's ready to join us. And I'm going to let him in. And you guys will just have to bear with me here and let me try it again, Jameson. I see you out there, bud. I know you're there. Sorry, I'm a little. Hey, you know what? This is what we do here on Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs. Dan Vaughn with you on the Thursday edition. By the way, next week we're going to go to Wednesday. We got Mike Henneman, Hen from the Pen, returns next week. We got a lot of stuff planned. I'll get to that at the back end of the show. Jameson's trying one more time. I know he's trying. And I see him trying to get in the green room, and once he does, we will fire him up and get the interview going. We're looking forward to having him on. One of my favorite people just in the league, and big fan of his. He's ready now. Here he goes. He's coming. All right, he's trying to get in. I'm going to keep trying, Jameson. I see you. I see you. He's trying. Just hey, you know what? I will tell you this, Stu, as far as your predictions go, while Jameson's trying to get in, I'll get back to Pete Cosby in a moment. I think the division format, much like last year, some really good team. There he goes. He's standing by. I'm going to go ahead and play the other. I'm going to put him on just a moment. Mute him for just a moment. I'm going to introduce him here. But to answer your questions, Drew, a really good team won't make the postseason, and that's been the case anyway. All right, he's here. I was early. He's there. Let's go ahead and roll the open for our guest intro, and I want to play a highlight before I bring him on. So let's play the open for Jamison McGrain here, at least the interview open. Here we go. A little roller back the mound. There's McGrain. He'll race to first base. He'll do it by himself. And the Monarchs have won it. Reign Reborn reigns again. The 2021 American Association champions. And you can notch this one. Final score, Kansas City 8 and Fargo-Moorhead 1. Well, that's the man who made that final play. And if I can get the screen to come off here, I will. Sorry about that, folks. Jamison McGrain, can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you good, man.
How you doing, mate? Good to see you.
I'm good. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's been a while. You ready for the season? Are you ready to go? Are you ready for baseball time in Kansas City?
Oh yeah, I'm getting antsy.
Getting antsy, yeah, we all are. Tell me, first off, what have you been doing in the off season? What's been going on with you?
Training like usual. I've been working a good amount too, but I kind of took a month off after the season ended. I threw the most innings of my career this year, and it was kind of nice to get some time to just like relax for the first time in a long time. So it's been good. I recently moved in with my girlfriend, things like that. So it's kind of been a bunch of changes.
So she got you like cleaning and stuff like that?
Yeah. When I'm not working, I'm doing housework.
Hey, it's a good workout. I mean, my wife's a major clean freak, and so she speeds around the house, and she's in better shape than me. So maybe just saying. That final out last year.
Yeah.
Take me back to that night because it was a blowout. I mean, the game was pretty much in hand.
Yeah.
But walk me through what you're thinking. You know that you're on the cusp of doing something special. What's going through your mind right there in that situation?
You mean like just the last out?
Yeah, that last out. That last out.
Okay, so the guy who I was facing, John Silviano, was my teammate the year prior in 2020 when I played in that shortened season with St. Paul. And I know he crushes balls, and he had an incredible year this year. And so Almi and me are pretty good, together. He usually ends up calling exactly what I'm thinking. And so we went like first pitch, like fastball up, and he absolutely creamsicled it like backside foul. And I was like, well, I'm not throwing that again. And, Sylvie knows me pretty well. And so I think everyone just assumed I was going to throw another fastball. And so I threw a splitter instead, and he kind of, hit that like weak, kind of bouncing like divot ground ball right back to me. And I didn't know I actually caught it. So like I've been getting, friends of mine giving me flack for taking it all the way. But I jumped, and when I caught it, I like had a momentary lapse of like understanding the ball was actually in my glove. And like you said, like, we were up by a bunch of runs, but it's like I still wanted to treat it like it was a one-run game. You never know how things can go, especially with Fargo's offense. They were incredible. But I started running to first, and the only thing that came to my head, I'm from Boston originally. I grew up a Red Sox fan, was watching Keith Folk throw that underhanded throw to first base to win the World Series. But I remember watching an interview about him after, and he was like panicking on the way, and I was like, I don't know if I can make this throw. So I think I'm just going to run it. And Casey was at first, and I think he saw that I was just like already full momentum, and so he just kind of like sidestepped the bag, and I ran right through it.
Well,
But it
you
was
sprinted.
awesome. It was
You
exhilarating.
sprinted. You sprinted. I mean, people say pitchers are, they don't do a lot of working out and all that. I know
Yes,
that.
they were
I
not
know that's,
athletes, I
but
know.
you're not athletes. But I mean, you were flying. You look like much like an NFL tight end there, going right down the seam,
Yeah.
a seam route there.
Yeah. I was running quick, that's for sure.
You were. You had a real interesting year last year, and start, close.
Yep.
You really when you flourished in both roles. How did you do that? I mean, because some guys just can't do it. They're like, well, I'm a starter, I'm a closer, a reliever, you did both. Water off a duck's back.
Yeah. So I started all throughout college, and then my first 2 years of pro ball, I started as well. And it wasn't until 2018 when I was playing in the Frontier League under Dennis Pelfrey that, he made me a reliever, and I kind of figured it out. I was like, wow, this is way better. Like, I'm significantly better at this. But with this, so I've had, I have an understanding of what I need to do in that role. It's just like, obviously the preparation is like significantly different. And like, I think obviously Skip, Joe, was like, hey, look, like we're losing guys left and right to affiliated. And like, obviously I'm trying to do the same. Everybody else on this team's trying to do the same. And, I saw it as like an opportunity for me to show that I can be as versatile as anybody. And so, Joe gave me the opportunity to start, and I ran with it, and I liked it. I think I did notice that, like, it's taxing, man. It's brutally taxing, especially I hadn't done it in 4 years. And so, like, 4 innings seemed like an eternity to me, and then as my starts, started to climb in length, it was like, good God, man, I'm not built for this anymore. Like, but it's weird. Like, when I stopped starting, I think my first outing after I was no longer starting, I came in after Kivas. We had just picked up Kivas, and I threw like 4 innings in relief, and that felt totally fine. Only because like I hadn't started the game. There's such a different, preparation for that. And, I'm so used to coming in like a high octane situation, like where my adrenaline's pumping. It's like a close game. And there's usually like, I seem to always end up facing like the 3, 4, 5 guys, but, you can't approach starting the same way. You're going to gas yourself out. And so, it was cool to kind of relearn that this late in my career, to kind of get a shot to show that I can do both things really well. So,
and I was going through your day by days, and a lot of times when a guy makes that transition, there's a lot of major bumps. But it's almost as if I had to go back and make sure I was looking at the same season, because a lot of times you'll see guys ebbs and flows, but your ebbs and flows were pretty consistent. That was pretty impressive last year, how you were able to just kind of just slide in there.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, and you mentioned Joe Capietra. He is a sweetheart, but he also looks like a real mean guy down there. Give me your Joe Capietra relationship. Is he the real focused guy down there that a lot of folks see, or is he that sweetheart that I see and that you see?
No, Joe's the man. I mean, obviously you have two faces during a game, and I think like you'll notice a lot of the better players, and this is here, anywhere, big leagues, coaches, same thing. Like, there's the way they are with their players, and there's the way that the public sees them. And, Joe does look like a hardo when he's in the dugout. I'll tell you that. He is laser focused on the game, but he's a great man. He's a good manager. Like, he's always easy to talk to. He's always willing to listen. So he really is a sweetheart, and he does give off that kind of hitman for the mob kind of look, which the team usually jokes about. But no, he's a great guy. He is a sweetheart, But he's got to keep focused just so he can keep the game running.
The show is Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs. I'm Dan Vaughn, voice of the Monarchs. Jamison McGrain, the man who really did it all on the mound last year, starting, relieving, and had just one heck of a stretch. Jan says, I want to be like you one day, man. Jan Hernandez chiming in. You mean like me? You would be like Jamison or me? Which one? Who's he talking about? No, you, of course. Or you, of course.
Yeah. What's up, kid?
Yeah, he's a good one, isn't he? He's a good one. That's the thing I love about you guys, and I watch it as let me bring this back down again. I watch you guys build these relationships, but it matters. That clubhouse relationship, that culture.
Sure.
I talk about a lot.
Yeah.
Culture matters. For you show me a team that doesn't have good culture, they ain't winning.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you look at a lot of the big league clubs that have success year in and year out, and you see some, pretty consistent faces in the clubhouse. Guys who end up, stepping up to leadership roles when they're needed and things like that. And I think that's a thing that Joe kind of, does exceptionally well. It's just getting a bunch of guys who are like good dudes. You know what I mean? I mean, there's always going to be players that are not great in the clubhouse, but are incredible on the field. And like, yes, that works, but it's only to a point. And it's a little different when you're on the field with a bunch of brothers than a bunch of teammates. You know what I mean? And so,
right, sure.
I feel like I've been very lucky in my career to have good guys around me, and I think specifically this past year was just an incredible team from top to bottom. We had guys always looking out for each other. Guys like helping each other out when they're running through bad times, like rough stints on the field, like whatever it is. Guys were always there for each other, and then I think that's why it just in those crazy, intense, stressful situations, it didn't seem that hard because everybody was like chilling,
Right. Yeah.
So
it was very chill. It was very, very, very chill. I'll ask the simple one. Why KC? Why are you back? What about Kansas City and the Monarchs has you so juiced up, ready to go?
I kind of after my 2019 season in the Atlantic League, I was just looking for a place that I knew could get me a really good shot at getting signed. And I'd heard a lot of good things about Joe. I had never even been in the American Association. I wasn't really initially thinking about leaving the Atlantic League. I have a buddy, actually, Danny Morris, who played with the T-Bones. Yeah, we grew up together. And he had told me, like, Joe gets guys picked up, blah, blah, blah. Like, you should come out here. And so I called Joe, and he was like, yeah, we want you. Like, come through. And I was like, all right. And then, obviously this year we had, 26 guys get scooped?
Yeah.
So, it's that. And like you said, the culture here is good. It's a fun place to be. Like, I mean, there's just a lot of good things about it. Obviously, I'd love to go there and get that ring ceremony done, too.
Sure.
And I think a lot of the guys, we talked about it right at the end of literally after we won the game, I think. And, obviously we're all like, well, we hope none of us see each other next year because everybody goes to affiliated or, goes overseas, whatever it is. But if you do, like, trying to get ring number 2. So
Right. Yeah, exactly. Jameson McGrain, the voice there. Dan Vaughn with you on Rain Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs. You mentioned guys getting picked up, and a lot of pitchers especially. You see this going on, and you didn't. You're not the only one. There were several others like great years that did get picked up.
Yeah.
Is it frustrating? Do you say, hey, maybe me next time? How do you handle that mental side of it? Because you want to go.
Yeah.
You want to be picked up, but you also want to win and be a teammate. How do you balance that disappointment to expectation?
I wouldn't call it disappointment. There is a frustration level, obviously, but you kind of just have to hope that your game speaks for itself. And like, obviously, a lot of the times it's luck, man. I mean, it's the same with, a lot of the guys that I've played with who have been in the big leagues. Like, sometimes it's just luck. It doesn't even have to do with skill set or whatever it is or what your position is. Like, there's a need and you're the guy. Like,
right.
And so I think it just kind of always gives you extra, motivation to try and get better or do things differently. And, obviously as athletes, like, guys are constantly learning from the mistakes they've made. So I think, obviously, like, I want to get picked up. And like last year I was like, man, I hope I get picked up. But like, if it doesn't happen, you get another year and you get another year and you get,
And I think that's part of that we miss a little bit. The ultimate goal for you guys is to get to chase those major league dreams.
Yes.
But in the meantime, if you're competitive, having fun, I had guys tell me this. I mean, I remember Justin Donatello saying, man, this is the most fun he'd ever had. And guys are having fun chasing those major league dreams, or maybe before they were sort of in a spot where more looking behind their shoulder or looking in front of them.
Yeah.
I guess one of my question is, it's a nice fallback position to be in. You don't get that affiliate call, but you get a chance to play meaningful and winning baseball.
Yeah, that's very true. I like what you said about, kind of looking over your shoulder. I think that's a very large misconception with how, independent baseball is viewed as a whole. People kind of see it as it's lesser than the minor leagues. And I made it to high A, and I'll tell you right now that the leagues I played in the Atlantic and the American blow that kind of baseball out of the water.
Right.
So,
right.
You can talk to any of the guys been in AAA big leagues. I'll tell you right now, they're not going to tell you this is, easy, no talent baseball. Like, there are guys out here throw 100, with no problem. There are guys here hitting 20 home runs a year. We got Gabby Guerrero throwing 96 miles an hour from a sub slot just because he feels like it, and then he can also drop 18 home runs and hit 330. So it's like
he can hit target if he needs to, like the parking lot, right?
And so, but that is a thing with affiliated baseball. It is kind of it is cutthroat, just like independent ball is. But it does seem sometimes that guys aren't really looking out for each other like they do in independent ball, because obviously everybody's goal here is to get back. Right. Everybody's goal in the end is to make it to the big leagues, obviously.
Yep.
But the thing is like, when you are competing with a guy on the same team as you, you're all competing for the singular spot. Whereas here, like, we're competing to win, and in a secondary nature, we could be playing so well that we get picked up.
Right.
So everybody kind of does, have to root for each other. And if you don't, like you said, the culture's bad, and you go on a team that's probably not going to get you a lot of victories. So
that's a long season too when that happens as well. When those things happen. Just a few more things with Jameis McGrain here on Rain Reborn. Mike Henneman. I throw that name out there because Mike mentioned you, and you smile there.
Yeah,
the smile comes up whenever Henneman's name. And Mike and I he's on the show again next week. We got him from the pin we've been doing. He mentioned you, J-Mo. He was talking about J-Mo, Mike Henneman as the pitching coach for the Monarchs.
Oh yeah,
he's a personality, and I guess what I'm thinking the question is, how big is that type of personality? That kind of whatever you want to call it, but former big leaguer, what me care, whatever you want to call it. How big is that personality for you and for the staff?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, like you said, he's a long-term big league guy, and that's already something to learn from. But he's got experience coaching as well, and he's always willing to. I mean, he'll take you off your high horse real quick, but he's always willing to help you out whenever you need help, and obviously, if you're going to learn from somebody, you learn from somebody who's been in the leagues 10 plus years. So it's like, and like you said, personality is an understatement. But that's what you need. You need a guy who's kind of who can be loud and in your face sometimes. At least that I think. It's the quiet ones that always seem to not be as helpful. I guess that would be the way to put it.
Sure.
But he's great with us, and he knows that. That's the other difference I forgot to mention too, is minor league, to kind of hold your hand for a while. Independent, you're expected to already know how to act like a professional.
Right.
And so Henny does a great job of letting us just take care of ourselves because we're men. So, but obviously once you don't act like a man, he's there to correct you.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
But that's great. That's what we need. And I think he's a good lively presence. When things go awry for us. So.
I don't know if you know this. Some of the listeners on the broadcast will know, but that was a big deal to me when he signed, because when in 96, he was finishing his career up with the Rangers, and the Rangers Texas had never made the postseason. And I remember listening to the Rangers broadcast of Mark Holtz, the radio guy in Seattle, when Henneman got the save in a series up there to clinch the division, the American League West. The Rangers had never done anything. Yeah. And so to me, being that first playoff team, I always remember they acquired him, and I was like, and then I fast forward my life some 20 some odd 5 years later, and now he's in my phone. It's like, I can't make this stuff up. I get to text Mike Henneman, and to me, the little kid in me, or the young man in me, he's coming out, and I throw that out there, just fun. I want to ask you a couple more things here. One fun one in the end, but I want to talk about the host families.
Yeah,
I know that means something to you. That relationship with your host family, tell us about that.
The Santalaris are incredible. I got the privilege to be with their son Matthew, who has Down syndrome, and he taught me a lot. You know what I mean? And you come in there, and I don't want to say apprehensive because that sounds negative, but you come in and you're like, man, I got a season to juggle. Like I also, don't want things to interrupt the way I kind of go about my business. And I've never really had a lot of experience, with people with mental disabilities. So I thought it was another, great learning experience for me. And like I said, they were just super helpful, super genuine. They were always there whenever I needed things. Like, and then Matt, I got a number one fan almost immediately. That guy was at every single game, cheering his butt off. Like,
Amen.
Yeah, incredible guy to be around. Like, came in the dugout a bunch of times, came in the clubhouse. Like, he loves the Monarchs, and so that's probably where I'm going to go back again this year. But it's a really cool experience when people kind of take you in your home, and welcome you like you're a member of the family. The thing I think people forget is like I'm a complete stranger.
Yeah,
I'm the grown man that they're like, come and stay with us.
Right,
we'll make you food, and you can like live in our home for free.
Right,
so we can like come and watch baseball games. Like that's insane to me, but like these people are incredible people for doing it, and so I think it's such a helpful thing for all the guys here too. Obviously we don't want to be juggling paying for an apartment as well.
Sure.
So I love the host family thing, and I think the Santalaris killed it. It was their first year doing it too. So I'm definitely pumped to go hang out with Matt again, beat him in basketball because he's always trying to cheat. So.
We did a thing, and I'm going to try not to get too emotional here.
Yeah.
He did a really cool thing about a month ago when he came out in his full Monarchs gear.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, Kara sent me a video.
And Jameson and I was going to, but if we were all as enthusiastic about the world and life, if we all had that kind of love,
way better.
We wouldn't have this mess of a world we live in. It makes me
just
it puts chills at my spine. He's such an example, and I spoke about that. That day.
Yeah,
it really meant a lot to me, and I know he meant a lot to you. And that's a great family, and I think you're great to interact with him. By the way, my mom says she wants to adopt you, so good luck.
Okay.
Good luck. You'll be at all the casinos around Chicago with plenty of wine, so avoid her. You'll be broke. No. Yeah. Final thing as we round third here, Jameson agreeing with us on Reborn. Dan Vaughn with you. All right, you've had a lot of roommates, and I don't want you to name them on the road, but you guys spend a lot of time.
Oh, yeah.
Have you had any quirky roommate stories or quirky roommate, or you want to name one? You want to name me one? That's fine too. But we're one of those guys that who are named nameless that had a habit or something that you're like, boy, I hope I'm not room with him again. Or maybe it was something you thought was funny.
I mean, everybody's quirky, man. I don't think there's a professional baseball player I've met who's just like cool all the way through. Like everybody's a weirdo. So I will say I've never really had like anything that's like so out of the blue, because like I feel like everything's like normal to me now. What would be absurd to another person is like every day. I will say though, Nick Travieso was my roommate for a majority of our away trips last year, and that man snores like a passing bus. I probably had to wake him up like 40 plus times on the road because he would be snoring so damn loud at like 3 a.m. I'd be like, dude, can I get like 1 minute of sleep with you? So, but like, I think, like you said, this is a high stress environment, and we're playing a lot of games and it's a long season, and you kind of come to recognize that like you're gonna miss those situations. Those things are kind of, times like that are kind of things you want to remember and have fun with, because like you might not get to see that guy. Like Travis signed with York in the Atlantic League, you know, so we still talk a lot, but things like that. It's fun to, like, it is cool to have different roommates that kind of, it's a good way to kind of get acquainted with the team early on too. You know, the bad part is like if I had been roomed with Travi early on, I probably would have hated him because he never let me sleep. But other than that, yeah, I've bounced around. I had him. I had Carson LaRue for a little bit. I'm trying to think of who else. Some guys don't even move from the bed. That's the other thing. You're just so tired all the time. You're just like, all right, woke up at 10. I won't move. They'll like be in the bed, DoorDash to the front door, and then you go to the field.
That's it. Yeah,
that's your day. And that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Well, it could have been worse. You could have been me as my first broadcasting year out of college in the South Atlantic, and I had the 73 3-year-old bus driver who was a chimney as well. He'd go in the bathroom and crack the window and crack the door in the little Motel 6 in Asheville. And he's just marbling it up there. And I'm laying there in the bed, and that smoke's just come bellowing out and I'm laying there in bed going, I mean, this is back in the 90s when you could smoke at hotel rooms. But I probably got secondhand smoke from that. I'm sure I did, but that was my first year. And that was my everywhere I went, I smelled like smoke here. I was like about clubbing every night I went up the ballpark. Anyway, Jameson, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you stopping by today. We're looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks, and you're a light, man. We love it.
Appreciate that, man. Thanks for having me.
You bet. That's Jameson McGrain right there here on Rain Reborn. Let's roll the close there in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Well, production value there, not the best, but you heard my production there. But appreciate Jameson stopping by. What a really cool dude. I mean, he really, you know certain guys before you know them. Does that make sense? And I think that's one of the small things about social media is that, I met him because we were debating 2 years ago. It was McGrain or McGraney. Remember? Because we had some folks in the league were calling him McGraney, some were McGrain, and he actually messaged me real nicely to make sure we knew how to say his name. And just, he's engaged. He knows his place. And I think that's so cool. And the relationship he and Matthew have inspires me. Just Matthew inspires us. And if we would all have a world where we all love like Matthew and Jameson, we'd be in such better folks. Brian asked, talk about the construction updates. I believe the new infield is one of them. Yes, Brian, I'll get to that real quickly here. I was talking about that before Jameson stopped by. Yes, the infield is looking good. As a matter of fact, I was there Saturday. It was so green, I thought it was fake stuff. Okay? It looks great. And the dirt's back in there. Soccer's gone. Wish them the best at Sporting Stadium, but at Children's Mercy. But they're gone, and it's back to traditional baseball infield. But a couple of things, too, and Jameson, I wrote these down. The relationships, you see the relationships. And we talked about this with Joe Cathpietra. Culture, relationships, those things matter. You can see they matter to Jameson. The same things we talk about theme-wise, and they're very simple themes. They're very simple themes, but the themes we talk about are what makes this such a special place to play and for a special man and Joe and an ownership group and all that we've got going on. And I hope that that's not lost because you're hearing, whether it be Darnell Sweeney or Joe Cathpietra or Mike Hinneman or John West or whoever, and Morgan dropped by, you're hearing it. And I think you're hearing that same passion. Casey says, can't wait to Series 1. Miss you guys. Casey, I was talking about you last night. I'd love to do a segment on the road about, I don't know, 2 minutes with Casey, and I got to ask random questions about the bus. Or maybe you can ask me. Maybe you can interview me. There's a thought. Just having some fun with it. Casey's a great guy. All right, let's go at the Hot Stove League. Let's get updates. By the way, questions, comments here on Rain Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs. I was talking about Pete Kozma, and I got a little derailed there because I got a little ahead of myself. I probably should have stalled a little bit. But Pete Kozma is with the ball club. Next week, I'm going to give you what I think the lineup card probably will look like. Just kind of a guess. Again, it won't be scientific, but it'll be sort of what I think potentially it could look like. And you can probably do the math yourself and realize that when you got a guy like Pete Kozma out there, former big leaguer who was in the big leagues last year. This is not a guy that was there, 10 years ago. This guy was there last year. Had his first hit, I believe, since 2015, last year for the Athletics in Houston against the Astros at a Minute Maid. And so this is a guy that's been recently there. I don't know him personally, but we have personal relationships together. And what I mean by that is my relationship with the Perth Heat in Australia is where Pete and I crossed paths. Now, the year he was there was the year that I was not there, but he did play in that shortened season 2 years ago. He and Warwick Saupold, who's a former big leaguer, member of Team Australia, pitched for the Tigers. He and Pete were teammates of the Tigers, and Warwick pitched in Korea for a number of years. That relationship, we share that relationship. I'm very close to Warwick's family and Warwick. Lockie Dale, who's the director of player development for the Perth Heat, and I are very close, and Pete obviously knows Lockie, but we haven't really crossed paths. I'm looking forward to catching up with him. I do want to show you a little highlight video of Cosmo. You'll remember this play, I think. You'll remember this play. I think you guys will. But I'd forgotten this, but he's almost there's actually a whole line of questions on a YouTube channel about this. But let me go ahead and play this for you real quickly here. This is Pete Cosma, 2000 Game 5, right? Yeah. You remember this? This is Game 5 in 2013. Is that right? And that's the big double that gave the Cardinals the lead. And of course, the graphics in the way there. But Cosmo, forever known in Washington and in St. Louis for that heroic double there. And that got the Cardinals over the hump in the division series against the Nationals, who I believe were the slight favorites, or maybe probably heavy favorites in that series. Anyway, Cosmo's there at short. It provides some depth. And a guy that hit the ball in the ballpark, I mean, that's a pretty big find. I mentioned he played in Perth. I wish I had the audio, and I'm trying to find some play-by-play audio of the game, of this actual home run. All I have is the natural sound of this one, but this is a home run he hit, a grand slam. Would have been the last season that Perth played. They didn't play last year, so the 2019 and 20 season. I got that right? Because I didn't play 2021. Anyway, my years are messed up, so just trust me. This is Pete Cosma against the, I believe, Adelaide Giants at the time at Perth Harley-Davidson Ballpark. That's what it was called at the time, but there in Western Australia. But he hit a grand slam home run, and he drives in a guy, Ulrich Bajowski, who's at Double-A with the Tigers, and the captain of Team Australia, Tim Kennelly, is also one of the guys on the bases. But I'll give you a shot of this home run. This one is a missile shot. Let me go and give it to you because it's a pretty impressive stuff here. Here we go. Deep into the Australian night right there. And that was Pete Cosma right there a couple of years ago with Perth and playing in the Australian Baseball League. So looking forward to having him. One more piece of the puzzle, too, in the Hot Stove update. And I guess I could have the Hot Stove graphic. Come on, Vaughn. What are you doing? C.J. Carter rounding things out. Another good piece, a pitching piece. I think you're seeing Joe tell us what he was telling us 2 weeks ago, was that, sort of filling in the gaps. He has some spots there. And it's almost like he went out in need shopped. You ever done that where you go in the store with a list and you need 3 or 4 things? I think Joe needing 3 or 4 things. He's got a right-hander with some sidearm ability. I'll give you the Hot Stove. There we go, Hot Stove update right there. But put this in the screen as well. It's a C.J. Carter, who has joined the ball club, 24-year-old, 6 foot 165, former Marlins farmhand. And Carter, over the weekend, was released by Beloit in the offseason, or actually during spring training just recently. Drafted by the Marlins at 18, 29th round out of Troy University down in Alabama. Pitched 4 teams last year, including Pensacola, reaching Double-A. 2-2 in 18 games over 15. Actually, 2-2 in 15 ball games last year, and he will be part of the things. C.J. Carter, sidearm guy, 3-quarter guy. Look forward to having him, right-hander. And just looking at what we talked about with Joe last week, or 2 weeks ago, was that those complementary pieces to kind of round. Actually, it was last week, right? Yeah, last week. We're every week now, Vaughn. Complementary pieces there to kind of round this thing out. Okay, rounding third heading for home here on Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs. That's your Hot Stove update. I mentioned a couple of things earlier that tomorrow is actually Jackie Robinson Day. Now, we're going to do some special, not really special, but some stuff on Monarchs 101 with DV on the podcast. I invite you to join the podcast. Check it out. It'll be dropping tonight. I'm going to tell you what I think are 2 underlying storylines that really helped cement Jackie Robinson being the choice of Branch Rickey to eventually break the barrier in 1947. And there's 2 underlying factors. We've not only talked about them briefly in passing. I'm going to talk about that, also give you a flashback moment as well coming up in the podcast broadcast. Also tomorrow, this is something I'm really excited about. I'm going to be a part of a really cool deal, and I'm going to tweet about it. You can follow on Twitter, but I'm doing a little thing tomorrow. It's going to be a Jackie Robinson tribute on MLB The Show. There'll be you can tweet. I'll tweet the link out, and I'm also going to so go to my Twitter page, or I will forward it on to Morgan as well, as she like to tweet it out as well on the Monarchs channel. But I'm looking forward to it. It's a really cool deal. It's Legend Sports, which is does some phenomenal work. Legend Sports, a gentleman out of Phillips, out of Houston, does a great job of promoting the Negro Leagues and the historical aspect of the ball game. That'll be all coming tomorrow at 1 o'clock Central Time. It's going to be Jackie, Bob Feller's All-Star team, Jackie's All-Star team, players like Stan Musial, Larry Doby, Roy Campanella, Buck Leonard will all be on the field with myself calling the game. And we'll be joined by the ATG Post-War Project, ATG Baseball, who's putting this on tomorrow. And I'm looking forward to doing that. So you can check that out. Again, I'll tweet that out tonight and make sure that Morgan knows about it as well. That'll be coming up tomorrow, 1 o'clock Central Daylight Time. It's MLB The Show. It's an all-star game of Bob Feller's players and Negro League stars with Jackie Robinson tomorrow. And that'll be celebrating Jackie Robinson Day. A couple of scatter shooting pieces to close this thing out today here on Rain Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs. Let me kind of just blow through them here. Coming up this weekend, and it's big time. You're starting to see events coming up. As I mentioned, the Savannah Bananas thing in May. Gentleman at the ballpark asked me about that. You also got this coming up this weekend. You've got the lacrosse showdown. Let me bring the graphic down so you guys can see that better. But the rivalry continues. KU and Mizzou playing in lacrosse 2022 Legends Showdown. Maybe bring this down too. That'd probably help as well. It's this weekend. That's right. This week, 6 o'clock is the rivalry game. It's an all-day event. It's really cool. It's $10 per person entry for all day. Concessions will be open. We've got the Monarchs team store will be open. But all day, you've got some high school, junior-aged lacrosse matches going on. Let me see if I've got that for you real quickly. I can tell you this is the schedule of the day, I think. Let's see here. Let me pull this up for you. The schedule of the day. Talk amongst yourselves. We've got coming up 8 a.m. At 9:30 in the morning. You got Northland at Mill Valley. At 11 a.m., that's under 12s, under 14 boys, Blue Valley and Prairie Village. At 11. At 1, you got Brookside at Pembroke. That's under 14 girls. And then you've got the 3 o'clock game, Blue Valley East Side at Blue Valley Southwest. And at 6 o'clock, you got Missouri and Kansas playing. And that'll be the Legends Showdown coming up this weekend at Legends Field in Kansas City. That all coming up on Saturday. And the Legends Club will be open at 2 o'clock for you folks. Legends Field open at 8 a.m. Gates. Public gates open at 9. So 9 o'clock, the gates open. 9:30 is the first ball game. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lacrosse matches. 5 is a match, right? Am I right? Lacrosse matches. 5 lacrosse matches this weekend. All at Legends Field. Tickets are $10. Go to monarchsbaseball.com or call 913-328-5618. Also, opening day coming up. We're less than a month away. monarchsbaseball.com. Those pennants will be available. You heard Jamison McGreen talk about the pennants, or I'm sorry, about the rings. They got all kinds of fireworks. A big weekend coming up. That'll be the weekend, second weekend of May. First weekend, Savannah Bananas, 6th and 7th. So we're getting that place now where events at the ballpark, high school baseball, now lacrosse, coming at you. So Legends Field, it's alive and well and ready to go in 2022. All right, thank you folks for stopping by today. I'm glad you did. Again, the podcast will be up in a couple of hours, but you'll wait around about mid-evening, but you'll have Jamison McGreen plus the bonus content will be there. We'll have all that for you as well. Don't forget tickets for any Monarchs events, monarchsbaseball.com. Check that out. Thank you very much, Kenny. Good to see you, mate. Always a pleasure, my friend. I love you, brother. Always good to see you out there. A big thanks to Jamison McGreen for stopping by here on Rain Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs, the show that did indeed start it all. I've been told that twice this week. 2 different teams have said it. So they said it. It's got to be fact. I didn't say it. The team said it. So they said we're the show that started it all. So, okay, I'll go with that. I will go with that fact. We're the show that started it all. And way to go, Monarchs. Again, the podcast is up next week. We go to Wednesday, noon Central Time. Mike Hinneman will join us. Hen from the pen will be fresh off vacation. We'll catch up with Mike Henneman, Monarchs pitching coach, and we'll be rolling right along as we continue to go every week with Rain Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs here on Facebook Live and YouTube. A big thanks to everyone who stopped by. Tip of the cap to you, the entire Monarchs family, Mark Brandmeyer, Mark McKee, the Marks, everyone there at the ballpark, Morgan Kalenda for help in our graphic and support of our show, and of course, Jameson McGrain for stopping by. By the way, a big tip of the cap to Kevin Luco. Kevin, you're recovering. Prayers for you, my friend. Kevin had a procedure this week, and he's recuperating there up in Minnesota. Prayers for you, mate, and pulling for you. Looking forward to seeing Kevin from this week in the association and very, very soon. Again, I say it every time. Every time. The reason I believe we're the best because you're the best, the fans of the Kansas City Monarchs. And let's do what Matthew does. Let's be better tomorrow than we were today. Let's show more love tomorrow than we did today. Continue going forward in 2022, sharing that love of the Monarchs, our love of each other, and love of our common fellow man as we go forward. Again, the podcast will be up. You guys ready for a little Go Monarchs? I'm ready for a little Go Monarchs. Everybody ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, and put the graphic down here. Put the close up. So I just press the button and go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Go Monarchs. I'll see you next time, everybody.